Hello, I'm Maud Hicks, president of CommunitySteeple.com. Recently, Larry Robinson, the chairman and CEO of CommunitySteeple.com, sat down with Ernest Page and gave him the opportunity to let the public hear directly from him. Ernest Page speaks out to tell you what's on his mind at this point in time. Ernest Page has been in the public eye since his days at Jones High School and Morehouse College, where was a stellar athlete and excelled academically. His career has led him to participate or take charge of many organizations, both community and civic oriented over the years. But on March 11, 2005, his life became a chapter in Orlando's Black History book when he became the first African American to ever serve as mayor of the city of Orlando. Unfortunately, the most recent news in the late months of 2006, publicized through the media, all focused on alleged felony charges, followed by a trial by an all-white jury. Now you can't find a current article on Ernest Page in the regular news media. We encourage you to hear what Ernest Page has to say. We would also like to hear from you what your opinion is on this matter. Please send an email to me at darlene@communitysteeple.com. That's DARLENE at communitysteeple.com. And let me know what you think. Thank you.
Okay, the first thing I'd like to say, Larry, is that I want the people to know, first of all, that certainly as I see it today, I'm a free man. You know, free spiritually, intellectually, and particularly from a spiritual point of view, because I know that I have done nothing wrong. Okay, this whole trumped up charge of battery and receiving unlawful compensation is politically motivated and was directed at not only just me, but the entire African American community. And we saw what happened to my counterpart, Senator Sippin, the first black senator. And certainly I was the first black mayor for the city of Orlando. What you saw was a vicious attack on the two most powerful African American black leaders in this town. And that was purposeful. Okay, it reminds me, it takes me back to the post-Reconstruction period when blacks were held many positions in government throughout the country, and particularly in the South. And through a vicious campaign of violence, they were dislodged from those positions. And by violence and with the blessing of government, both federal and local government. And in this case, I see a similar thing. And when you notice that they were attempting to sentence Senator Slipper and I on the same day, at 1:30 on the same day, that was a strong signal to this community and to me what this whole thing was all about. In other words, they were going to have a lynching at City Hall, and for everybody to see, and to display us, for the whole, and expose us to the whole entire community. However, I stopped that, and I'm glad that I did. The charges against me, bribery and receiving unlawful compensation, is just ridiculous. The charges of bribery can only exist if, in fact, somebody is offering me a bribe, and I accept that bribe. In this case, there is no such incident. There's no such, anywhere in the record, anywhere from the testimony of the state's witness, where they offered me a bribe or I offered them a bribe. It was not about that. Their primary concern was, at least for our opinion, that he felt threatened by my voicemail. That is not bribery. That voicemail was made by Ernest Page, president of Southwest United Communities, who was procuring calls for the project that we were talking about here, the 826 units. It was our project. We've been working on it for several months, and I got a call from Pena, who I'd known for some time, and invited him in to see if we could joint venture. And subsequently, my board member, Mr. Floyd Frazier, came to me with some apprehensions about Mr. Pena. And certainly those apprehensions became true. We found out that he was trying to circumvent us. And when we found that out, that's when Floyd Frazier, my board member, insisted that I call him right away. But that was the phone call, saying that the project was going nowhere if we were not included, and that was the truth. And we still hold that. We still hold to that. It was our project, and as Floyd said in court, he was a crook. Okay, and he should have been the one that was prosecuted. So bribery, there is no bribery in a situation. It's impossible to have bribery in a situation like that, just over voicemail. So I want everybody to know and understand that. We're talking about an issue here concerning power, race, politics, and fear. Okay? Race in that it's about black leadership. Power, it's about the power that I held once as mayor of the city of Orlando. And certainly the mayor's race was coming up in 2008. And the buzzword around was that Page could run and Page could win. Under the circumstances, the powers to be, was whoever they are, could not stand or fathom the fact that we may have a black mayor in this town for 4 years. And it's understandable because my record is clear. Every civil rights law on the book in this town has my name on it. The law that outlaws discrimination in housing, public accommodation, and employment. And the Human Relations Department that investigate these cases of discrimination in housing, public accommodation, and employment. The MB ordinance that the city has and has had for the last 20 years is my brainchild. The 24% of all contracts let by the city, as a result of that ordinance, goes to minorities. And that's the kind of mentality that I bring to leadership. Fairness, justice, and equality for everybody. And certainly in this town, that kind of leadership that can appeal to both African Americans and to Caucasians was something that could not be found. And we know that for a fact. It was all about politics and keeping possibly me from being in control of the #1 tourist attraction in the world. I'd already proven that I could do it and do it well. And I did it well. And also, it should be noted that at this point in time in our history, we're in the most viable economic development period ever in the history of the city. As I was saying, Orlando is the #1 tourist attraction in the world. And right now we're in the midst of the most dynamic economic boom ever in the history of Orlando and the Central Florida area. And the city of Orlando, of course, is the county seat, is the engine really for guiding that development. And certainly the mayor of the city of Orlando would be in control of directing that growth and development in the city of Orlando, and of course working with all the other elected officials in Central Florida to promote and to guide that growth. We have at the city of Orlando now almost $2 billion in construction as we see the advent of discussions regarding the arena, the Citrus Bowl, and of course the Performing Arts Center. Of course, I'm very familiar with those projects, and the thought, and we're certain, and we've discussed it, my lawyers and other leaders in the community, the thought that Ernest Page, an African American, competent leadership, would be in charge of that $2 billion in consternation through this city. For as you know, it would change the very landscape in the city of Orlando. Not that things wouldn't change that much, but we would have an open government and a fair government. As I've demonstrated in the past, certainly justice and equality and fairness in the dispensation of goods and services in this community is what I would do. Of course, the police chief, the fire chief, planning, code enforcement, the entire city of Orlando would be under my authority. Think about it. So how do you go from a private deal to being charged with bribery or exercising influence, okay, official influence, and seeking an illegal compensation. And seeking illegal compensation. You can't do it from a voicemail. Okay. Bribery means that, you know, you want something at City Hall, you're going to pay me a bribe, and I'm going to do something for you. There was no money. There was no discussion of money. There was nothing at all except a voicemail that I left on a mechanical machine. And so we know what this is all about. And I'd like to stress that Southwest United Communities, and that's where I'm sitting right now, is a CDC, Community Development Corporation, one of the most successful community development corporations in the state of Florida. Okay, we have, we're sitting now in a $2 million office complex that's owned and operated by Southwest United Communities. Here we have a state-of-the-art child development center and a universal art and dance institute for pre-K children. We are Golden Seal. We are nationally accredited. We have an incubator for 8 small businesses. We have a medical clinic here that we own. And we are 51% of a general partnership on the 164-unit senior citizen complex. And we're developing other programs in the arts and in economic development. We are a successful nonprofit organization. I didn't, and Southwest United Community did not deserve what happened to us. This community did not deserve what happened to it in relationship to not only myself, but to Senator Siplin. And I think it's time for this community to stand, okay, and let it be known that we will not tolerate this. Okay, we're getting calls from all over the country, all over the world for that matter, from Africa, from England, wondering what's going on in Orlando. Why did this ever happen to two, not only strong leaders, but 2 gentlemen who are spiritually sound, okay, who believe dearly, okay, that the things that they're doing are blessed by the Creator, okay, and that we are attempting to, not only attempting, but we are lifting up our people wherever we can. That's what God would have us to do. And the other thing that I would like to point out here, and as I was talking to Larry yesterday, I see a very, very bleak future if the African Americans don't get on board at this time in this transition that we're going through right now. The ethnic transition is taking place with the Hispanic community coming in, and this is no disparaging. I'm not casting any dispersion on the Hispanic community. In fact, I'm working with some very, very good people in the Hispanic community. But the reality is that the African American is no longer the minority or ethnic group of choice. Affirmative action is on its way out of the window, and other ethnic groups are coming in, and they have a sense of nationhood. They have a sense of unity. They are working together to benefit each other. And they will work with us too. But we have got to come together to forge an overall plan for the African American community that includes all the black leaders and the grassroots people in this community. SWUC is a grassroots organization. Our CDC is called Southwest United Communities. The nickname is SWUC. We are a grassroots organization run by grassroots people, presidents of Homeowners Association, other blacks in the community. We have no big shots on our board. I'm not the big shot, but I'm their big shot. There's some significant things. I'm in an appeal right now of this unjust, if you will, conviction. And we feel very strongly that we're going to win this appeal. But I caution the African American community that there is a vicious wind out there afoot ever since 9/11. A very conservative movement, and it has been driven by conservative forces that want to turn the clock back on all minorities. And if we don't come together, certainly we're going to the benefit of people that that does not have a vision for its future, that includes the children and the elevation of their communities to a point where they are respected in the community and to a point where they have viable ideas and are fighting for those things that are in the best interest not only of the African American community but the community at large, that race of people will perish. There's no doubt about it. We're bordering on extinction. We cannot protect our women. We cannot protect our children at this point. And certainly this should be frightening to us. The schools are not teaching. 52% of all the people in the jailhouse are African American. In southwest Orlando, we have a 35 to 51% poverty rate. If somebody else was going to solve our problem, it would have done it a long time ago. So I beseech you today to look at what has happened to Ernest Page and look at what is happening to my friend, Senator Siplin. And I challenge you, to come talk with us, to find out what this situation is all about. And we're going to be working with Larry, starting to call him Mr. Robinson, okay, in effort to put together a petition, if you will, to send to the governor for a pardon. Now, a group of people from the community came together, and that's what they want to do. And I'm going to encourage that. Even though we're in the midst of an appeal, the word needs to get out to the governor and all other powers to be that the state attorney's office here, okay, certainly engaged in discriminatory, malicious prosecution in this case, where there is no basis for it. Under ordinary circumstances, this charge would not have been brought. Okay? And in this case, it should not have been brought because I was operating as a private citizen, not as a governmental official. And that makes the distinction between bribery, by a public servant. And that's what I'm charged with: bribery by a public servant and unlawful compensation for official behavior. Okay, in other words, I did something wrong in office. That's what they're saying. What I did wrong was to accept the bribe. You think about that, okay? And receiving unlawful compensation where there's no money, bribe, no compensation, there is no project. Okay, so I want this message to go out to the people, and I'll be talking with Larry in the future. There's some other things that we need to talk about, Larry, okay? And I want to thank you for for the effort that you're putting forth, you and your organization are putting forth in bringing this to the public view. Okay? And God bless you and your wife. Thank you.